Welcome, everyone, to the Girls of 309 podcast, where we talk about all things Disney and our time working at Disney. I'm Stephanie, and I'm joined here by...
Hey, everyone, I'm Analicia.
I'm Ashley. And Shelby.
Today, we're going to talk about the experiences that Analicia and I had working at Disney World. We each had several different internships there. I had 3 college programs, and she had a college program and a professional internship. So first off, Analicia, do you want to talk about your 2 roles that you had?
Sure. So the first role that I did, I was an attractions cast member, and I drove the Kilimanjaro safari trucks through the entire safari in Animal Kingdom. And then my second one, when I was a professional internship, I did basically shadowing Imagineers. It was called like Scientific Integrated. It had like an acronym, which I don't remember now because this was 2015. Sorry. But I basically, worked with engineers who worked on the ride. Yeah. What about you,
Very
Steph?
cool.
What all did you do?
I was a character attendant at Animal Kingdom during my first program, which meant that I helped the characters on and off set. It was very big in time management, making sure they got off set on time and back on time, and telling the customers where they were going to be, when they were going to be back, and just making sure that they were safe out on set, and also helping with photographs, autographs, all those things. And then I worked attractions on my second and third program. My attraction on the second program was Spaceship Earth, which is the big golf ball in Epcot, which everyone hates you calling it that, but that's basically what it is. And it was pretty chill, so that was nice. And then the third program, I worked at Tomorrowland Speedway, which is the race cars in Magic Kingdom. So, Analicia, how did you feel when you first heard that you were going to be working at attractions?
I was super excited. So when I was little and not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up, we went and saw Fantasmic at Disneyland, and I realized I could work for Disney. I could work on the roller coaster rides because I knew I wanted to do something in the science field, in the building field. Like, I wanted to do something like that where like I could be creative and design and make things that made people happy. And I was like, this is perfect. I could work for a company that owns a dragon. Like, why would you not
I know.
want to work for Disney? I was so excited. An attractions cast member was the like top priority, because when you filled out your resume, it was like, oh, like list the things that you would most want to do, something you would be okay with doing, and ones you absolutely don't want to do, like at all. An attractions cast member was at the top. So I was so stoked. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna work on the rides. What if like it breaks down and they're like, you have to go fix it? Of course, that is absolutely not what happens. Not at all.
There's a random cast member. Go fix it.
You, random college kid that we hired for the summer, go fix the ride. Like, no, that does not happen. I was incredibly delirious. Well, I also didn't know how Disney worked at the time. Disney, not that they're very like hush hush about stuff, but it's very hard to Google like, how does Disney like internally work? Like, it's not easy to research. It's easy to find out if you work for them, but outside I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I was very, very excited, and yeah, I was super excited. I didn't know what I was going to get until we actually got there, and then I was like, what the heck? How do you even pronounce this? Because I saw Kilimanjaro safaris on my binder, and I was like,
So you had never been on that ride before?
I had never been to Disneyland at all.
Disney World,
I had
right?
no idea. Yeah, I had no idea that Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, all of them, I thought it was similar to Disneyland where they're walking distance away from each other. And that is very much not the case. So I did a lot of growing up and learning, but I loved it. I had a good time.
Definitely. I had never been to a Disney park at all before my first college program, so I was really
I knew that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I was thrown into this world, and I was working at Animal Kingdom, and just like I had no idea where to go. And Animal Kingdom is one of the few parks where the cast members walk through the park to get to their like attraction or location. And I worked in so many different locations being a character attendant because it was like the different character locations. So I really had to like learn the map, study the map of like how to get around the park. So I remember that being difficult. But yeah, when I first saw that I was going to be a character attendant, I was excited. I wanted to be a character performer. So I was like, okay, it's close, right? Next best thing. So yeah, I was excited. I didn't know that much about it, but yeah, it was good. And what was training like for your role at Kilimanjaro Safaris, Analicia? Do you want me to repeat that question?
Just made me leave it in. I thought it was really funny.
I tried to hold it in. I'm sorry.
He's gonna come walking.
Put it in a TikTok for later. Definitely.
There we go. Analicia, how was the training like for your role at Kilimanjaro Safaris?
So it was actually really intense. I remember the first day being super nervous, not knowing where to go, because I didn't have like a location. They were like, go to the side of the park, take a bus, ride that bus to this other building, and then walk to this other building that looks like this with this green roof. And I was like, okay. And so I actually got there like an hour early because I was so afraid of being late on my first day and getting lost. Luckily, though, on the bus, there was a lot of other people wearing the exact same uniform as me. So I'm like, I'm just going to follow the people who look like me and I'm going to get to where I need to go. So I get there. And of course, my trainer was not there yet because I was an hour early. So I sat there awkwardly at the table while everyone else walked around and was like, can I help you? And I was like, I'm here to train. And they're like, oh, okay. And then would ignore me the rest of the time. So that was anxiety I had to get over. But my training, I basically had to memorize all of the animals that were going to be seen. At least 3 facts about each one. I was told that I couldn't Google any facts, that it had to be approved facts that were given to me on a piece of paper. So a lot of people may not know this, although I think it's funny that people don't know this because it's super obvious, but we actually are driving the trucks. There is no track at all. And so because of that, I, of course, had to drive. And so after I memorized everything, I got in a vehicle where someone was already driving. And they're like, okay, watch me get an experience on how this works. And so I did one of those drives and they're like, okay, we're getting in a truck. You're driving now, which was scary because the like smallest thing I've ever driven was a Hyundai Accent. And they're like, here, just drive this ginormous bus around these tight corners. And I remember the first day that I was driving, my trainer was like, turn, keep turning, and was like literally like touching the steering wheel as I was turning to make me turn so we wouldn't go off the road.
Oh my gosh.
It was stress. So after I got the like driving done, which wasn't so bad, after I remembered to make wide turns, then they were like, okay, what's that animal? And basically started to quiz me and was like, what's a fact about this animal right here? What is this animal here? And then I'd started to kind of come up with a spiel a little bit, which looking back on it, I hate it now. And I'm sorry if I'm going to go on a side tangent here, but at the time they told us, immerse the guest completely. They are not at Disney World. They are in Africa, in the in the village of Harambe, on an actual safari. Like, don't let them know that they're in a theme park. That's going to ruin the magic for them. And so guests are not dumb. So it's super hard to like we're in Africa, when they all know, they see the Mickey ears, like, they see you selling a Mickey's ice cream sandwich just down the street over there, like, they're not dumb, they know. So it was really hard and gave me a lot of anxiety trying to, like, sidestep some people's questions about stuff when it was obvious, like, oh, we do that. Like, if there was a cast member trying to get a giraffe out of the way, because we could not approach the animals at all if they were on the road. It was a strict, like, you do not approach the animals if they are on the road. You call it in, and someone will go out to feed the animal to lure them out, which... Side tangent, I'm so sorry, is such a dumb way to get animals off of the road.
Oh my gosh.
I just imagine myself being like a bored giraffe and be like, I'm kind of peckish. Oh, look, a truck. Just right in the middle of the road. And I'm gonna wait here until I get my treat so I can leave. Like, why are we rewarding it? Anyways, that's
Good
how
point.
they did it. And so, of course, like, when a cast member is walking with this giant leaf, how are you supposed to be like, oh, look, they're doing stuff? Like, how are you supposed to hand wave that away that they're not in Disney
wild
World?
savannah of
There's a cast-
Africa.
Right, a wild cast member. Oh my god. Like,
Their
no.
natural habitat.
Their natural habitats. Anyways, I like how I've written the ride actually quite a few times since my program, and I love how they're doing it now where they're not trying to hide it, and instead of trying to magically like fool the guests, they're focusing more on informing them about conservation messages and about the animals, and it feels so much more genuine and so much more passionate about this right thing, the animals, which is what it should have been the entire time. And so now when I ride the ride, I'm like, everyone's spiel is better than mine. Everyone's ride is better than what mine used to be. Because it is. It's definitely grown, and I'm sorry I went on a side tangent. So anyways, after you learned how to do the trucks and after you learned how to do your spiel, and your spiel was good enough, then they would put guests in your truck. And then they would teach you how to work the lands, which was anything not involving the truck, like greeting people at the front or taking their stroller, and which was my favorite land. It was called Pram. And it was called Pram because I guess Africa and England like had a territory or something, and Pram, I guess, is something that English people call strollers. So it was called the Pram, and that's where you would take people's strollers and you would park it somewhere. I liked that one. There were people who were like, oh, how many are in your party? Oh, go into that row. Like, all of those were lands. You got one land per day, and that was it. Everything else was driving the entire time.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. What about you, Steph?
Wow. That attraction is so hands-on. I can't believe that they just like throw a college kid into that.
Intense.
Honestly.
Yeah, it was intense, but my brain was like, you are going to do well at this. You are not going to disappoint Mickey Mouse here. Like, they literally when they don't say we're going to fire people. They use the word termination. Termination. Yeah. And it's so scary. Or they'll shorten it to like term. Like, oh, if you do this, you're termed. If you do this, you're termed on the spot. And it's just so anxiety inducing to think like immediately like your job is over. It's terminated. It's done.
Yeah.
And we, sorry to pop in for a second, but we heard so many like horror stories of someone being like, yeah, my roommate got termed last week for X, Y, and Z. And I do feel like it was something that was pushed on us quite a bit, was the possibility of being termed. Mm-hmm. So it definitely added that layer of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you had a candle in the dorms, termed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We were allowed to have candles.
We couldn't have lightsabers from Star Wars areas, termed. Yeah.
If your roommate had
alcohol that wasn't yours, termed.
Even if they were of drinking age, if you lived with people under drinking age, you couldn't have alcohol. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. If anyone saw you sitting sitting for any reason. I'm sorry, that's part of my cons, but I'm gonna say it real quick. There was one point in time in the Florida heat, I started to get tunnel vision. I was at greeter spot in the sun, and I started to get tunnel vision, and I got scared because I have fainted before as a Sonic car hop on wheels, and what I did to stop myself from fainting was I squatted. So I squat basically, and I'm not like butt on the floor. My feet are still on the floor, but I'm like in a squatted, almost pooping position. And of course, right when I do that, a manager comes by and she's like, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was just feeling really lightheaded. And she's like, go sit over there in the shade, which was backstage. She's like, I'll watch your place for a little bit. Go calm down. But I felt like I was being punished or scolded or like bombastic side eye, criminal side eye. I'm like, you were feeling weak and that's why you were squatting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they caught you sitting, termination. Oh, that day was a very scary day for me.
Yes.
I have a little bit of anxiety thinking about it. I'm so sorry. We're going on such a side tangent.
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. A lot of pressure and a lot of heat that we weren't used to necessarily. So, yeah. As for me, my training as a character attendant, I remember it being more in a group setting. I was with other people. Like, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 of us in a group, and we would have some classroom time where we'd just like talk through things and go over things, and we'd have some computer-based training time, and then we would have some like hands-on time where we would actually like be on the set and like help the characters and learn by doing. So it was pretty good. I think it lasted about 4 days or something. I honestly can't remember that much about it. I think I felt like we were a little bit competitive against each other since it was a group setting. So, but it was kind of the only time to have met like those other character attendants, because when you're a character attendant, you're actually like by yourself a lot of the time, or, you know, just with the characters, but you can't always really talk or interact with them that much. So it was kind of nice that we had that group training in the beginning to actually make some acquaintances before we started the real job. So, yeah. Nice. Do you remember anything about your first day on the job, Analicia?
Yeah, I guess I did kind of already touch on that, where you had to figure out the bus and where to go, and I was very scared, and I was there an hour early.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do remember it very fondly because that day I spent all day in an air-conditioned, like, portable. Oh, they're nice. Like those little portable houses, memorizing animal facts. Nice. And I have a really good short-term memory. And so, of course, my trainer is like, what is such and such? And I would, like, give off, like, word-for-word facts about the thing, like, and I felt like I was impressing her. But I'm sure she's like, I see kids like that all the time. Because like, you were specifically chosen for this specific job. And it's funny because actually remembering back in the interview, I was actually asked by the cast member on the phone, like, how do you feel about performing in front of people? And I specifically said, if I have a script, I'm okay. It's if I have to improv that I would get very anxious. And she said, okay, sounds good. And then like we moved on to the next question, and my brain is like, this is what landed you here.
Maybe, yeah.
You've been scripted to figure this out.
But what about your like first actual day on the job though, after training?
I was very, very scared and very nervous because there were a lot of rules, and I know I messed up. I messed up quite a few times. I remember driving and like realizing that I hadn't spoke for like a good 5 minutes, and so I was like, oh, how are you guys doing, like trying to like come up with something to say. I remember like driving around, and towards the end of the day, like the animals know it's dinner time. It's the end of the day, it's dinner time. And if you go to Kilimanjaro safaris at the end of the day, all of the animals are already in their like back area or close to their back area door where they're like, they can't be seen because we're in Africa. And of course there's not doors leading to where they eat, of course. So they're back there by the doors where no one can see. And so my brain was like, I knew how to talk when there were animals here. I did not prepare myself for when there weren't animals here. And so you see me the next day looking up facts about the trees, the baobab trees, about the ant stalagmites that were there, about like 3 conservation things to like fill up space, like all like 5 or 6 different crocodile facts, because those never leave. Those stay exactly where they are. So I just remember my first day being like, all right, you got some homework to do, because it was not a good first day. I did not do well. Those poor guests.
That's hard if you have like all this extra time to fill. I know like at the end of the ride too, sometimes you'll be backed up behind other cars and you're like, oh, what do I say to fill all this time?
Oh, and it's so bad because if an animal, so you are not allowed to be within 10 feet of the car in front of you. You have to stay spaced out all over the savannah, because it looks very not magical if all of the cars are lined up together like it's LA traffic. And so they told us you need to remain spaced out. And I was like, okay. But if a giraffe was in the road, everyone's spacing out. You felt it all the way in the hippos. So you're going to sit there staring at this hippo for like 20 minutes while they try to get that giraffe out of the way, and everyone finally starts going again. And that was anxiety inducing, trying to think of something. And there, I remember towards the end of my college program, at one point in time, I was like, we're just going to sit here in silence. I didn't say it out loud. But in my brain, I was like, we're going to sit here in silence.
That's fair.
My guests looked tired. I was tired. My guests looked tired. It looked like this was just something to sit for 20 minutes, which it is a very nice 20-minute ride where you are sitting down in a somewhat decent shade-ish. So I was like, we're all just gonna. And I put it in park, which is what you're supposed to do. Anytime you are stopped for more than 10 seconds, you have to put it in park. I put it in park, and I sat back. And I was,
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and my guest didn't seem to care or mind that I didn't say anything. And then as soon as we were going again, I was like, all right, here we go. And then as if like we had never stopped, I just kept going with my script. But yeah, first day off of training was rough.
Understandable. I think it would be for anybody. I remember my first day off of training, I did have like a coordinator beside me, I think, but we were, she was basically letting me do the work so, you know, I could learn. And we had to tell people that Winnie the Pooh and Tigger were on a honey break or something like that. They weren't able to see guests at that time. And I just remember this woman just yelling at me, being like, you know, you're full of crap. Stop lying to me. Like, you're ruining my vacation. Like, really intense about Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. I'm like, oh my gosh. And like, my poor little fragile, sensitive heart couldn't take it. So I just like started crying.
Oh,
yeah. And my coordinator, I mean, she wasn't unkind about it, but she was just kind of like, you know, you gotta let these things like roll off you. You're gonna have to be tough in this position. Like, people are gonna yell at you, and yep, that's just gonna be part of the job. So I was like, okay, I'll try. So that was probably, I wasn't the best at like letting things roll off me, but I did get better at it. So
were you a hard ass by the end of your program?
I would not say that. Not at all. But I tried not to take things to heart as much. I don't think I cried on set.
Apologies if there's still dog snoring after I edit this. But I was going to say that one thing about listening to both of you talk is I understand somewhat, but the added layer of having so much direct contact with guests seems like it would be a lot of pressure. I mean, Analicia, pretty much all of your interactions are with guests all day, and it's a lot harder for you to like take a minute to yourself. And then Stephanie, you're having to try and balance people's emotions because they're hot. They've been walking around all day and they want to see this character, or their kid really wants to see this character or whatever. And then they take it out on you. And that just seems like, I mean, both of those seem like it would be a lot for anyone, let alone someone who is 19 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I realized looking back on being a character attendant was just like, it was probably the role that I've had that had the most like highs and lows. Like it was a very difficult role, but also very interesting role and fun at times role. So yeah, and I think the same for Analicia. That was probably one of the most difficult jobs she's ever done, but had like a lot of really cool parts to it and a lot of really hard parts to it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. There were good days and there were definitely not good days. It was a very mixed bowl. I will say that. I didn't have really anywhere to cry though, thinking back on Ashley and Shelby's programs where they could kind of sneak away and maybe have like a power cry. See, you are either in front of guests on a truck or on a land, or you are in, like, our break room was like, imagine a tiny home that had like those like cafeteria chairs where the like chair is attached to the table, like 4 of those full of drivers. There was like maybe 6 to a seat of just college kids, and on the outside some of them sat on a rock wall because they could like be out in the breeze and the cool air. You're surrounded by all of those people waiting for your next assignment, and that's where you took a break between driving. So there was nowhere for you to really like catch your breath. There was one spot kinda where after you drop guests off, you go underneath this bridge, and then right as soon as you come out of the bridge, that's where guests reload on. And right underneath that bridge, no one can see you.
Nice.
Well, I take that back. Some people can see you if they're the guests that are standing on top of the bridge. If they look over, they'll see you like there. So don't be on your phone or anything. Someone got turned for that because they were underneath the bridge waiting for their turn and they were on their phone. Yeah, if you're on your phone while you're driving these vehicles, turned. So, but that was
and
really
they got
the only
eyes
spot.
everywhere.
Yeah, that was really the only spot that you could like, where you didn't have guests in your truck, you didn't have guests in front of you or anything. The person in front of you driving the truck was there so they could see you, but other than that, that was your little bit of quiet time to like, okay, that one was crap, I stuttered, or oh, that one was awful, like something with the animals happened or something with a guest happened where they were upset. You just need to breathe and go to your next one. And then, of course, driving up, you have to be super excited to take these people on a safari and be like, "Tong tong, Kwaharini, everybody. That means welcome. So come on into my truck."
How long did you have between when you dropped off one truckload and then when you picked up another?
It depended on if there was an animal in the road, because it would even back up the line, like the loading line. So if there was an animal in the road backing up everybody, you could have had 20 minutes or you could have had 10 seconds to just continue driving. Yeah. The trucks can go a max of, I think it's 20 miles per hour. 20-ish miles per hour and you could floor it. And trust me, I did a couple times trying to, because where the truck parking lot is to where you actually enter the safari is quite a ways. And I hated having non-safari trucks behind me because they had to slow down to 20 miles per hour right on my butt as I was driving, and I got anxiety and I was just like, go around. They would never go around, ever. And I would literally have my foot on the floor trying to like speed up. It doesn't. I don't know what they did to change the trucks. They could not go more than 20 miles per hour. So even if you turned around the corner from offloading guests to like getting guests, like at 5 miles per hour, you really only had like maybe, if you stretched it, 15 seconds. And then it's all over again.
Wow.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It was,
so what are some,
it was fun.
Yeah. What are some overall like pros and cons of that role?
So one pro is that because it was Animal Kingdom and the animals all had a bedtime, we would close an hour before the rest of the park would close.
Nice.
So that was a pro if you were on a truck. If you were at greeter point in front of the attraction and you had to turn the people away, it was awful. You got a lot of eye rolls, a lot of sighs, a lot of very upset people who thought they had Kilimanjaro safaris for the last hour of the park. And no. And actually, we were usually we wouldn't wait right at the entrance. We would kind of scoot forward to where, like, right where this concession stand was. And if we saw you even remotely, like, coming in this direction, we were like, Kilimanjaro safari is closed for the night. So you wouldn't have to walk all the way up there. So a lot of the guests' exasperations were at a distance, so that was kind of nice. Another pro is that even though like I at first had a very rocky beginning, once I got it down, once I got my animal stuff down, it wasn't actually too bad. It was fairly easy. You drove the same route the whole time. There wasn't really like surprises that they didn't train you or prepare you for that I interacted with anyways. So it was okay. It was, once you got your stuff, it was easy. You just had to get your stuff. And also, because we were physically driving the trucks and it was around live animals, there was a hazard pay. So I actually got paid $12 an hour instead
nice.
of the seven something that you guys got.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Secret.
I don't know if you told us that.
You were rich. I'm just kidding. That's still not much.
No.
It's like for hazard pay, they're like, yeah, you're gonna get a solid $12 an hour.
$12
and you might get attacked by an animal, but
I know. And also the people that I worked with were actually fairly nice. A lot of the veterans of the Kilimanjaro safaris purposefully wouldn't make friends with the college program kids because they knew we were leaving. So they didn't want to get attached, which I'm like, fair. But you know what that means? All of the college kids all loved each other and all, like, there were a couple of cliques. There were some people who loved people more than others, and that's fine. But for the most part, like, we would go to Chick-fil-A afterwards, or like Little Caesars, or not Little Caesars, Cece's Pizza. We went to a couple of like clubs and everything, and so the people I worked with was a pro for sure. Did you want to say your pros, or me move on to cons?
Sure, I'll say my pros.
Go for it.
Some of my pros for being a character attendant. This is a weird one, but it was kind of a pro for me, like having to manage time or time management. I'm really good at, so I was like, oh sweet, I'm great at this role. Like I know exactly how long it takes to walk from the set to their offset location, and I know exactly how many guests they can see in this amount of time and things like that. So mostly that was a pro for me. Sometimes it was a con, because sometimes I wouldn't be exactly right or things would get out of hand. But for the most part, I enjoyed having to do that time management, and I thought it was kind of cool. And I kind of saw it as a challenge. But another thing that's nice about being a character attendant is the like changing characters that you get to work with, changing schedules. So it's not as boring as some other positions. You get to do different things every day. Sometimes you get to work dance parties with characters. Sometimes you get to work, on set with characters, their little pop-ups. And then I had one thing where you got to play games with characters, which I actually hated, but I'm going to touch on that later. And yeah, so that was kind of cool. And then you also had the ability to work in other parks. So I could pick up shifts in other parks if I wanted to. Like I picked up a couple shifts in Magic Kingdom, a couple shifts in Epcot, and a couple shifts in Hollywood Studios too, I think. So that was cool to kind of get to experience the other parks as well. Although that came with anxiety of having to figure out how to work in those parks with those sets and lines and all of that. So, so another pro was definitely getting to make magic moments. You can do that very easily with the characters. So that was cool to be able to bring in like the Make-A-Wish people and have them cut the line and create these magic moments with them. It was really special to get to be a part of that. So that was cool. And I talked about this in an earlier episode about the pin trading. We used to get to do that too. So that was really nice to be able to have your own little pins and do pin trading with the guests. It was fun. So what were some cons that you had, Analicia?
I have done that there were many rules. There were many rules to remember, and it was at sometimes a bit overwhelming. It depended on like what your role was for the day or like what section of the safari you were in, but there were a ton of rules that you had to remember while simultaneously like speaking and trying to interact with guests and also trying to drive this vehicle, also not drive the vehicle off the path in any way. So there was, and then on top of that, they had a radio for us to like listen to with also codes. So like, oh, what's your 10 was like, oh, where are you? Like 10 was like a location. So you'd had like a list of codes that you had to memorize to like say like, oh, I need a bathroom break. There was a code for that. Like there's an elephant in the road. There's a code for that. If someone pooped or vomited in our trucks, we had codes for that. We also had codes for, okay, you're getting off of this truck and someone else is taking over, so you're going on a break. So we had that too. So it was just a lot of rules, a lot of things to pay attention to simultaneously while doing stuff simultaneously. And some days that was really hard. So that's a con. Another con was that it was all outside. Completely. And it was very hot. And I remember one day there was like, I felt a bead of sweat go down like my back, and I was like, I feel so gross. I don't like being here, but I had to smile because you were at Disney and you always smile when you're at Disney. Or turn.
Right to jail.
Right to jail, right away. And it kind of made me realize though, looking at some guests, it's not that they're not happy or they're not having a good time. They're just hot. It's everybody's hot face because Florida is humid. It's not just warm. It's humid, like wet towel in your face. Hot.
I had a coordinator once that it was so hot, and he was like, man, y'all, it's like Satan is teabagging the earth around here. I was like, man, that is so accurate.
I remember our AC broke in our room, and you said the exact thing the second you walked into our room. Oh, that was bad.
A bad night.
It was so bad.
It was like 80 in our room. It was horrible.
It was awful. Hated it. Sorry, slight side tangent. That was a con. And kind of having things not in your control, having to deal with it, that's another con that I didn't care for, because like if you were stuck or like your time on the like ride was like long because of an animal, that was out of your control. Like you couldn't help it. If you were on a land that usually all of the lands were affected by people in line, like 90% of the lands were people in line. You were dealing with either at Greet Point or at Merge Point or at Pram or at the Fast Pass or at the disability wheelchair / wheelchair section docking. Everything was while you were in line, while guests were in line. So if the trucks aren't moving because of a animal, you've got all of these guests who are waiting, just staring right at you. And they want an explanation as to why it said 30-minute wait, and now all of a sudden we're hitting 45-minute wait, and all you can say is that there's probably an animal stopping a truck. I don't know, because you didn't have a walkie-talkie on the land. You didn't. So you couldn't like radio in and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, why are our trucks not moving? You just had to assume that that's what happened. And of course they don't like that because they think that you're giving them the magic excuse, when really, people, it's not it's not a magic excuse.
You got so worked up, you nearly knocked your mic over.
Not the magic.
She just falls out of her chair.
I just want people, if you take anything away from this episode, just know, yes, cast members can sometimes lie to you, but sometimes we aren't. Or sometimes that's the excuse we are told to give you. Please don't be upset with us. We're
just
most
doing
of
our
the time
job.
out of our control. Yeah, we're just doing our job as best we can.
That cast member is probably 19 years old, working their first job in 95-degree humidity. Just give them a break, please.
Yes.
And they are more afraid of you than you are of them.
I'm so scared.
So
Which
scared
I think
of
they could smell. I think
upset
the guests could smell our food. But just be kind.
That's how they know who to pounce on. You ruined my vacation.
Yeah.
But anyways, those were my cons. Not being able to keep the stuff efficient because of an animal. And that's
right. It was out of your control, which is very hard.
out of your control. What can you do?
Yes. So yeah, like telling people no, that was a big part of my job as a character attendant, and that's not fun to do, and people don't like to be told no. So yeah, that was a huge part, just closing off lines, being like, sorry, I know you see all these people in line, but you can't join this line because you won't get to see this character, even though they're right there. And sorry, you can't take a picture with them because they have to go play with Miko or something like that, you know? So that was very hard. And people were not very nice about it a lot of the times. Being a character attendant, you were kind of in control of a lot of things. Like, you were in control of your character and how like when they got on and off set, so they relied on you completely. And then you're in control of like the guest lines, and the guests like were relying on you to see the character and have this interaction with them. And, you know, if those who couldn't see the character, they're relying on you, like when could they see the character, if they were coming back that day. So it was a lot of pressure just on you to assist all these people. And it was kind of a lonely position. Like I mentioned before, you didn't really work with many other people. You worked with the characters. Sometimes you were by yourself. Sometimes you would have another character attendant with you. But overall, it was kind of hard to create deep connections with anyone because you worked with different people all the time. Sometimes you'd work with the same people. Sorry.
Hello.
This is Kylie.
Hi.
Oh, goodness. So yeah, sometimes you'd work with the same people, but not every day. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, sometimes you'd have people that you didn't like working with and some people you liked working with too. So it was kind of nice in that way. You didn't have to work with people you didn't like every day, at least. So yeah. And yeah, so it was just harder to make connections, especially compared to attractions where I learned like, oh wow, this is what it's like to work with the same people every day and actually get to know them. So that was cool. What were some of your... Yes. No, and that's why I bonded even more with y'all, because I didn't really have that many friends at my work. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I had y'all during that time. So what were some of your worst moments that you experienced working at Kilimanjaro Safaris, Analicia?
I did already mention one, which was where I got scolded for keeping myself from not fainting. So that was one. That was one. Another one was where I got assigned, it was funny, every single time it started to rain, which if you live in Florida, it rains quite a bit. If it ever rains and you're in a land that was like not covered in any way, all of the cast of your fellow cast members would do the like Hunger Games like symbol as you left. It was hilarious. Well, I got that. It was pouring rain. And I was at Fast Pass Greeter, where you're not covered by anything. There's a like arched sign that says Fast Pass, and you're at a computer, and that's it. And all I had was a poncho because umbrellas are not allowed to be used by cast members. You could accidentally hit a guest, and that's a big no-no. Termination. right to jail.
I think they're more afraid of cast members finally losing it. It's like whacking somebody.
Shut the hell up. Bam!
And I remember sitting, like, I tried to stand behind the, like, stick, because, like, the brain was coming at an angle, so I was like, oh, I don't feel it as much over here. It didn't. It did not make a difference. And at one point in time, I was like, I don't care. And I just let the rain completely soak me all the way.
Fall down.
Yes.
Baby.
Emo, I'm an Analicia.
I was soaked all the way down through my socks, through my undergarments, and there was not a part of me that wasn't soaked completely. And of course, there was no one coming in to the line when it was raining like that, because most people think, oh, the rides are closed during the rain. Tidbit, listener. If it is raining, go to Kilimanjaro Safaris. It is most likely going to be a walk-on, and I don't know why. Oh, it's one of the best memories. I'm gonna save it for the best memory. Come back to me in a second. Anyway, so that was one where I was soaking wet in the rain. And two, I had a really bad guest experience. One gentleman was with his family, and someone was, of course, in a wheelchair with his family and everything. And I guess the line wasn't as long as he thought it was, because he got a beer. And it was in a clear, it's not a solo cup, it's one of those clear cups. And it was like full, like maybe almost at a quarter down from like a full one. The thing is, though, is that you are not allowed to have any sort of food or drinks on the Kilimanjaro Safari ride. We don't want you throwing your trash out onto the safari. We don't want you, like, spilling something on you or on another guest, God forbid. Like, and I tried to explain this to him, because I was maneuvering people and putting them into the, like, truck. And I told him, I said, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, but you can't have that beer on the thing. And he's like, that's okay, I'll be super careful. I won't spill. I'll be super careful. And I said, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot let you onto the truck. I will get in big trouble. I tried so hard to, anytime there was like a rule that I was following, I tried to say, like, it's my job. Like, it's not me being mean to you. It's me trying to protect my job to follow the rules. I tried it and it hardly ever worked, but still, I was like, I'm sorry, sir, but I will get in trouble if I let you on. You can't have the beer. I said, you can stand on the side, and when the next truck comes, once you finished it, you can get on then. I said, or you can throw it away. We had a trash can, of course, right there. And he got livid. He got so upset that he was like, fine then, I won't ride this ride. Started walking down the exit ramp, and then halfway down, chugged his beer into a random plant, and then kept walking. And my brain was like, you just...
Oh my gosh. Grown up temper tantrums.
Seriously. And the girl that was with him followed and everything. But the woman who was in the wheelchair was still kind of like just like working on her wheelchair and everything. And of course the driver who was in the truck was like, good job, Analicia, you did the right thing. Yeah. Because she did. She also backed up on her microphone. She was like, sir, you are not getting on my truck with the beer. I will not move. Like backing me up, which I was like, thank you for backing me up. We need to support each other. Anyways, needless to say, 5 seconds later, he came back up the exit. And I was like, welcome back. Go ahead and seat in row 5. And he went and he sat down and he said nothing else to me. Wow. He didn't say anything to me either when he came back. And I was like, I don't know what you want from me, man. You literally, any other attraction here in Disney is going to tell you the exact same thing. Yeah. When has there once been a Disney attraction where they're like, oh, please, take all the food you want, all the drinks you want, eat them while you're specifically on this ride? Not once. Not once has a Disney ride ever said that. So why this one? Yeah. Why?
All the seats would be so gross if they let people bring beer specifically onto the rides.
Yeah. And the thing is that if you've never been on the Kilimanjaro Safari ride, let me warn you, it is incredibly bumpy. Those roads are not meant to be smooth or anything. So having a beer cup that's that full with no lid on it, you're going to spill it everywhere. And then you're going to get mad at us that it got spilled on your shirt, on your grandma, on your phone or whatever. Or worse, if the solo cup falls out of your hand and it's there on the safari where animals can go sniff it or eat it or, to God forbid, choke on it or something, like, there's just so many logical reasons as to why that's not that. Anyways, that was the worst interaction I had because I felt guilty for following the rules because I couldn't handle conflict at the time. I was a youngin' who had no tough skin absolutely whatsoever, but I stuck to my guns anyways. And so, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
Thank you. What about you, Stephanie? What was your worst memory?
I have two that I can think of. One, I mentioned before, there were characters that we would play games with. This was Chip and Dale up at Rafiki's Planet Watch. And I hope they don't do this anymore, but they used to do this. And we would literally take the characters out. And during the summertime, I think they only have 20 minutes that they're allowed to be on set. So we would take them out, and they want us to play games with the kids. So we have to gather all this energy and gather all the kids around, get them in a circle, and then we have to lead these games with Chip and Dale. And I don't know, we're doing all this stuff with them. And then at the end of the game, we have to form like a conga line with Chip and Dale. It's cute. It's super cute. And then the conga line goes into like forming the line for pictures and autographs with the characters. The problem is, like, by the time we do the conga line, like, the line's already closed. We only have like 10 minutes left to do pictures and autographs with Chip and Dale. So like I automatically have to close the line, and then just like every other person that comes up for those 10 minutes wanting to see Chip and Dale, I have to tell no to. And then when I tell them to come back, I have to tell them, like, you have to be here specifically at this time and play these games with Chip and Dale. And if you don't, you probably won't get to see them. So it was just very difficult. And it was a lot of energy trying to lead all these games and this Florida heat with these characters, and then having to, cut the line so early, and then having to do it over and over and over again. Oh my gosh, that was the worst, like, shift to work. And, like, it was fun. Like, yeah, it was fun, like, once or twice, but by the, like, 4th, 6th time doing it, you're like, I'm exhausted. This is a terrible, like, setup. It was just not great. And then my other worst experience, which I mentioned that we could pick up shifts in other parks. So that was cool, but then you didn't always know how that worked, how that character worked, how their line worked. There were different types of lines. There was like lines that we would call controlled lines because they were more controlled, like indoors, or like easier to cut off. There was like even like maybe a rope or sign at the end. And then there were like uncontrolled lines where it's like literally your job to like count the number of people that character could see and the certain amount of time that they would be out on set. And then you had to cut off the line at the end and like stand there and tell people like, no, you can't see this character. So I picked up a shift with Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And I thought it would be cool, working with Alice. But she meets right by the teacups in Magic Kingdom, and she has a very uncontrolled line in probably the most popular area of the park. So her line got out of control very easily for me, and I got super stressed out, and like I didn't cut the line off in time. So there were more people in her line than she could see in the amount of time that she had out on set. And so there was probably like 3 families left when she had to leave. And so I like even like kind of tried to tell her like, I have these people that still need to see you, but it's your time to leave. And she just walked off. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I can't blame her, I guess. Like that's her legalities, but like I had totally just messed up, and there was nothing I could really do about it because those people had waited, but they didn't get to see Alice, and I did not know what to do in that situation, so I just kind of walked off too. So, but yeah, that always brings me a lot of shame and anxiety when I think about it. That was a terrible time.
It seemed like there was a lot of pressure to get characters off set. So were you getting in trouble, by coordinators if you...
You could probably get in trouble, but the angriest thing, how do I say this? Like the characters would get really mad at you if you got them offset late.
Oh, okay. So that's more so where the pressure's coming off. Like, they're just like, I'm in a lot of layers, makeup, maybe a suit. It's very hot. My time is cut off. I've got to go.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
So if Alice could have potentially just said, oh, it's okay, I'll stay and meet these 3 families, but she didn't.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It probably would have
Okay.
taken her 3 more minutes or something like that if we had rushed it. But yeah, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a very difficult situation, and I did not know how to handle it. So that was not fun. But I had some really good moments too. Do you want to talk about your good moments first, Analicia?
Sure. So back to kind of what I said earlier about the rain. I don't know if because we have newborn elephants and like new like babies of animals, giraffes, rhinos, all the time. So I don't know if it's true now, but back then, if it was raining, you could still go on Kilimanjaro safaris. We still drove in the rain. It wasn't the only time we stopped was if there was thunder. Which we all rooted for if it happened. But if it didn't, we were still driving in the rain. And if you went, there was a high likelihood that the elephants were swimming in the pond that we had there at their exhibit. And it was because there were so few people in line, there wasn't so many trucks going through. And so the next truck behind you was like, 40 feet away, and you couldn't see them or anything. And so you could linger there at that little pond for like a good solid, maybe like 20 seconds, which is incredibly unheard of. On Kilimanjaro safaris, you got to basically like touch and go at every single animal. And so I have a lot of like fond memories of driving in the rain and seeing the elephants play and like their little trunks, and they're like floating. They're like trying to dog paddle. It's adorable. And all the expressions on my guests when that would happen was just pure magic for me also, because
that's so sweet.
They're having a good time and enjoying the elephants and seeing something that not a lot of people do actually get to see, because usually during the day the elephants are not in the water at all. They're chilling in the shade. So that's one. The other one okay, so there's this part where you are seeing the hippos, and the hippos are always on your left and the road is on the right. I did not know this about hippos, but the way that hippos poop is they stick their butt up out of the water and then they fling their tail as the poop is coming out. You just get a poop explosion everywhere. I know, I'm sorry, it's super gross. But so the first time I saw it, I was just like... I didn't know what to say. Everyone was like, yes, and so I kept driving. I didn't say not one hippo fact because I was shocked and kind of laughing because I was like, what just came around the corner, poop shower just everywhere. The place. Luckily, we weren't in the splash zone. None of it got in the car, on the car, or on any guest. That would have been gross, but it was an interesting sight. So that was one. and then the last one.
We're gonna have to put a poop warning on every episode.
Yeah,
apparently. There's a lot of poop at Disney. A lot more poop stories than you think. So there's like this section where the lions are, and you drive like 180 around their rock. Like if my microphone was their rock, you drove like this. So you got like a pretty good 180 view of them. But well, one night, the lions were feeling the love tonight. We'll just say that. No. Male lion on top of the female lion, and I did not know how to handle it. It was not in my training. And I saw it happen, and I was like, I'm not going to call attention to it. I'm not even going to say that the animals are there. I'm just going to drive around really fast. And then I hear in the back seat, oh my God, they're having sex.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
Leave it on to a guest to blatantly like scream it, and of course everyone's like laughing and reacting. Of course all the adults are laughing and the kids are like, what? And then of course I get off the truck and it's the end of the day and me and all of my coworkers are leaving, and that's all we could talk about. We were like, oh my god, did you guys see it too? Like, yes, I saw it. What did your guest say? And I was like, oh my god. Luckily though, it was only one go around that happened, because the second time I went around I was like, okay, just prepare yourself mentally for whatever you're gonna see. And no, they were like complete opposite sides of the Pride Rock. One of my coworkers actually said that he started to hum "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" in his microphone, and all of the guests started cracking up, and I was like, oh my god, you're gonna get termed. You can't be doing that. What are you doing?
I think that's hilarious though.
Yeah. Those were my favorite memories. Those were great.
Those are pretty good, yeah.
What about you, Steph? What were your favorite memories?
So working in Animal Kingdom, I got to work with Pocahontas a lot, who was my favorite Disney princess. I love her so much. So it was really cool getting to work with her, and her line was an uncontrolled line, but it was like not in the middle of the park. You had to kind of go out of your way to get to it. So it didn't get too crazy. So we actually had some quiet moments sometimes where people hadn't even found her yet. So she would just be like, we'd just be chilling, you know? So I really liked working with her. I also got more breaks working with her, because like she was just Pocahontas. So when we would go on break, I would get the same kind of breaks that she got, which is kind of nice. So sometimes I would have to stay outside in the park and just let people know like when she was coming and things like that. But still, it was pretty chill working with her, and she was my favorite. So I liked that a lot. And there was one time when I was working with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, and they were kind of also out of the way down this like ramp behind a building or something. So sometimes their lines would be pretty chill by the end of the night. And there was this one moment where there was nobody in line for a while, like 15 minutes or something. So we were just like hanging out. And Winnie the Pooh were like, can we take pictures? Like they wanted us to take pictures of them. So they were doing all these cute little poses, like with their little sets. They had these boxes and stuff. They were like hiding behind the boxes, and it was super cute. And then me, there was actually 2 character attendants working with them because it was 2 characters. So me and the other character attendant also got to take pictures with them. So we have just like these really fun, silly pictures with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger that were like very, very cool and special, something that you would not normally get to have. So that was a cool moment for sure.
Aww.
And also sometimes if there was an excess of character attendance, they would do special pop-ups with characters. So I got to do a special pop-up one time with Miko and Radcliffe in the front of the park, which is also nice because it was like people would see them as they were walking into the park, and some people would stop to take pictures with them. Some people would just like wave because they were on their way into the park. But that was really nice and chill to like get to do something special with characters that you don't really always get to see. I also got to work like special parties at Animal Kingdom with stilt walkers and stuff. They had to have character attendants too to help them. And so that was fun to get to see that. We had a special party. I think all of Animal Kingdom had a special party one day because they were unveiling the ideas for Pandora. This was 2014, so I don't know, 3 years before it actually became a thing. But it was really cool to get to see the initial concepts, and they were giving us like Avatar-themed, I don't know, desserts and drinks and stuff like that. So that was really cool to get to see that too. And another special moment that I got to have was I got to pick up a shift at Magic Kingdom in the Princess Fairy Tale Hall. We got to wear these kind of cute little costumes when we worked there. And that was a super controlled line, so I loved it. So I think I think I got to work with I think it was Elsa and Rapunzel or something like that. And yeah, it was just super easy because they had the line, they had I think a waiting room in between, and then they would let like a certain number of people into the actual room. So you could really take your time with people and have these like really great interactions. And then at the end of the day, I got to take pictures with them too. So that was really fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So overall, it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I got to experience it. What about you, Analicia? Any regrets?
No, not really. I would just go back and tell myself to chill.
Yeah.
Like,
same.
Like, to just chill. A lot of the stuff that is bad is just built up in your head. You are gonna be fine. I would warn her to, like, don't put on I had a really bad customer service voice, and one of my coworkers was like, "You sound like Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls when you talk." And I was like, "Ooh." They're like, "Yeah, chill. Like, just chill. Like, you're talking to me right now." And I was like, "Okay, I'll try." And I was not very good at it. So I would just tell myself to chill. But overall, I loved it. I loved my experience. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I would probably do it again. Yeah. What about you? Overall.
Yeah, overall, I would do it again, and I would also tell myself to chill and try to be less shy and awkward, which I'm always telling myself anyways. And yeah, just have fun with it and try to be more outgoing and appreciate the magic moments more and all of that. So yeah, I think at this point we're going along with this episode, so we should talk about our other roles in another episode and just say goodbye for today. So thank you for listening to the Girls of 309 podcast.